Good evening. Israel-Hamas war news update. Hamas proposes detailed truce plan. Hamas announces its counterproposal to a Gaza truce plan, outlining specific deadlines and deeming it reasonable and realistic. The militant group calls for negotiations to address any disagreements and emphasizes the importance of finding a diplomatic solution to the ongoing conflict. Mounting concerns of Israeli ground invasion, concerns escalate over a potential Israeli ground invasion of southern Rafah city, where an estimated 1.4 million displaced Palestinians reside. The UN issues a warning of large-scale loss of life in the event of such an invasion, heightening fears of further escalation and humanitarian crisis in the region. Blinken in Israel for truce and prisoner swap. Talks US Secretary of State. Blinken arrives in Israel to discuss Hamas's response to a proposed truce deal and an Israel-Hamas prisoner swap, following visits to Egypt and Qatar. The diplomatic efforts aim to de-escalate tensions and negotiate potential agreements amid the ongoing conflict in the region. High casualty toll in Gaza-Israel conflict. At least 27,585 people have been killed and 66,978 wounded in Israeli attacks on Gaza since October 7th, with the death toll in Israel from the October 7th Hamas attacks standing at 1,139. The escalating casualties underscore the severity of the conflict and the urgent need for a ceasefire to prevent further loss of life. During the first phase, Hamas would release Israeli captives, including women, children, the elderly and the sick, in exchange for 1,500 prisoners. They would include 500 Palestinians who received long sentences, including life sentences, as well as all women, children and elderly people held in Israeli prisons. Israeli forces have intensified their siege of Nasser Hospital in Khan Yunis, endangering 300 medical staff, 450 patients, and some 10,000 displaced people, the UN reports. The remaining male captives would be freed during the second phase, and the remains of those killed in fighting exchanged in the third phase. By the end of the third phase, Hamas would expect the sides to have reached an agreement on an end to the war. Hamas said in an addendum to the proposal it wants the release of 1,500 prisoners, one-third of whom it will select from a list of Palestinians handed life sentences by Israel. The truce would also increase the flow of food and other aid to Gaza. At least 500 trucks of aid and fuel would be brought daily into all areas of the Gaza Strip. Hamas demands the return of displaced Palestinians to their places of residence, a guarantee of freedom of movement between the north and south of the Gaza Strip, and the opening of border crossings. Hamas also demands that at least 60,000 temporary homes and 200,000 tents be allowed to enter the Strip during the first phase. Additional approvals would be required for a plan to reconstruct destroyed homes, economic facilities, and public facilities within 3 years. Hamas also demands that settlers stop storming Al-Aqsa Mosque and the situation at Islam's third holiest site return to how it was before 2002.